Navarrete. Here. Councilmember Land.
Here.
Councilmember Byrd. Vice Mayor Alonso.
Here.
And I am present. Please let the record show that Councilmember Aguilar and Councilmember Tamerlan do have excused absences. If everyone would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And tonight we're here for our second work session on the discussion of alternatives for Superior Land Exchange Properties, Superior Innovation Gateway. And the presenters tonight are Ioana Morfesis, Danny Port, Elliot D. Pollock and Associates, and Chris Hacker from Kimley Horn. Is Ioana on the camera now?
No, I'm still fighting that. Sorry, we can move on to someone else.
We're having a few delays, but we do have the maps to walk around and just, I know council's been pretty busy with a variety of different travels, so some of us have actually been out to look at the properties and had some more kind of time with the land, I guess you could say, so that was fun, and encourage everyone to reset some time to go out with Todd. But while we're waiting to get Ioana on the line, I know she's going to want to tell us a lot of things, but I'll, in light of our time, Danny, if you want to get started.
Sure.
Good evening. My name is Danny Court. I'm a partner at Elliott & Pollock Company and senior economist there. Correction, from Kimley Horn tonight, we have Jenny Watts. She's a senior aviation planner, filling in for Chris Hacker. I think we might still need Todd because the slide advance is not going. I don't know. This might be a good time to
Yeah, maybe we
walk
can just
around,
go
look at
ahead
them.
and start looking at the
Everyone-
maps.
Yeah, these are the same maps that we showed last time around, so we just wanted to load them up, let you look at it up close and personal, and then we can come back around and discuss some of the particulars.
Yeah, we can do that. And for anybody who's watching on YouTube, we're just going to be looking at these maps that are up here. I think they're online as well digitally. So we'll do that, council, and then we'll wait for the screen to get reset here.
Hi, Ioana. I have Ioana on the line now.
Okay. Well, tell her we're looking at maps first. And
We've decided to look at the maps first, Ioana, and then we'll move on to the presentation.
Okay, thank you very much. And
anyone
thank
in
you,
the
Mayor and
public, you're
Council,
welcome to
for the ability. I have an echo. Let me. Can you hear me?
I can, very quietly. I'm trying to figure out
Okay. Thank you. Tonight, and you're just about to hear from Danny Court and also Jen.
Ioana, we are still, we're going over the maps. I'll let you know when the mayor's transition back into a presentation.
Okay, I'm out of the YouTube. Thank you very much. I apologize for the slight delay and inconvenience. We're here tonight, a month later.
If you want to wait, we're still doing, everybody's up looking at the maps. I'll let you know when we're ready to start the presentation.
Thank you.
This isn't gonna mess it up.
course, since it's more than deployment for a general fund and be more developed. That's just kind of how I feel like, so the future development is not have big future fund not out of here, but more on the smaller scale. Sorry, Jim, I'll tell you what every other municipal airport mayor tells me is that those of you that don't wear things,
Take the charge.
Yeah, that's the. Yeah, I think these are the choices, and then this one's not, so. But the existing one, just going again, that's just existing, yeah, so.
The interesting part about the short term is the gradual about 2 acres.
Yeah. Oh, I think I was trying.
That's where
Range. He was, already thinking about future development.
That's kind of based on what's potential. That's what that's all.
You're gonna have to go back over it again. Because I think this was the one where it moved the wheel pad, right? Here. Promote proposed terminal.
They shorten the runway, but the other has the town and take off the rest of the transfer. So shortening the runway makes sense. And you can't use them because they're inside the takeoff line. So if you like. And we can consider, starting to take off, but we should stop. This one really. Yeah, exactly, shorter run. This one, big down is the airport use, but this is on airport. Yeah, the funny thing about this map, of all actual ad space. All right, we want to talk about it some more?
Yeah.
You want to go online, we can start talking.
More. Great. No, we're working on
Maybe
it.
your seat.
after we discuss this item, we have a little more detail. We'll have a break between the work session and the main meeting where you can take a closer look at the maps before we make the final decision at the regular meeting.
Okay, so we do have Ioana on the screen, right?
Yes.
All right, Ioana, we're gonna hand the platform over to you. And we've looked at the maps and you can give us your startup and then Danny can come back in and give us the presentation.
Can you hear us, Ioana? You want to get started?
Yes, I can. Okay, I just wanted the mayor.
But we need to be able to hear her.
Could you turn it up a hair for me over there? I'm holding the mic right next to it.
Which one's the volume?
The main one on the left.
The main one. Okay, you wanna test it now?
Go ahead and talk for us, Ioana.
Okay, we ready to go? Are we ready?
About as good as we're gonna get it, I think.
All right, I have it cranked up all pretty high, so.
Okay. All right, go
Can you
ahead,
hear-
Ioana.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, members of the Superior Town Council. I'm Ioana Morfesis, and I serve in the capacity as Senior Economic Development Advisor for the town under the auspices of Rebuild Superior. We need to thank Resolution Copper Mining LLC for funding this entire endeavor. We appreciate the fact that they did, in fact, agree to our request to have this land use plan developed by Elliott D. Pollock and Company and Danny Court, who is the principal of the firm and the senior economist, who partnered with Kimley Horn, also an outstanding firm who have done our Superior Municipal Airport master plan to do this work. We have been working since last September together. I have served sort of as a air traffic control tower, and don't excuse the pun, to help participate in the study, its methodology, what the consultant team should look at and consider from an economic development standpoint. This land is the only land upon which the town will be able to diversify its economy and become a non-extraction dependent economy over the long term. And why is that? Because this is the only land that we have where we can attract, recruit, and grow employers who provide quality jobs in the sectors that are growing and emerging in the global economy. Tonight, you will hear the final presentation of the three alternatives, which essentially are serving as a framework and guidelines in terms of the potential for the kinds of development that can happen in what we have named the Superior Innovation Gateway District. And this district has different commercial and business uses. It respects and honors the beautiful, majestic physical landscape of Superior and will offer a lot of opportunities. It's adjacent to our airport. The airport is a critically important piece of infrastructure for any community, no matter if it's the size of Superior or the size of Dallas-Fort Worth. And what we are going to be presenting tonight, and hopefully the council will take it as a strong recommendation to approve, are the alternative land uses, with one that is most preferred, given all of the analyses, careful analyses, and study that has been conducted. And so we can move on into the presentation unless mayor and council members have any questions of me.
Council, does anyone have any questions for Ioana while she's on the screen with us right now? Okay, I think we're good. We'll start moving forward with Danny. You can give us the presentation. And Danny, are you okay if council has maybe questions in the moment they can ask
Yes,
you?
yes,
Okay,
feel free to
perfect.
type in.
Should work that presentation. I will stop sharing to make it easier. There we go. Let me go back to that screen, sorry. We need a dedicated IT guy, not a town manager who isn't very good at it. All right. There we go. Try it now.
So this presentation is truncated from the last time around. We're not gonna go deeper, as deep as we did, discussing it, just because you've seen it already before. So, you know, we've truncated this. We're gonna revisit the market opportunities that our firm conducted, jump straight to the development alternatives, and then have time for council discussion. Like you said before, there was a multi-part commercial market analysis for all the parcels surrounding the airport, in the airport innovation district. We looked at flex industrial, some larger scale industrial. We did look at industrial outdoor storage, and then finally retail demand that's coming through. Just as a quick recap, a lot of industry is supported by small business. In the greater Phoenix region alone, over 80% of businesses are small businesses, 20 employees or less, that occupy smaller spaces. There is also, both from a land size standpoint and from a demand side, the mid-size, 20 to 50,000 square foot type buildings, also a really great fit for the area. Big box is not a fit, and it's also currently oversupplied across the market. The industrial outdoor storage is structurally tight, low vacancy, is likely to be demand, and then retail, as we know, follows rooftops. So the retail, we want to be preserving enough land for the retail opportunity that we're hoping arrives. If we can attract new residential development, when we attract new business as well, we'll create demand, and if we attract some hotels, also create visitor demand there. So this is that recap here. We believe that all 4 out of the 5 sectors that we studied are really strong fits for the Innovation Gateway District. I know we did get some feedback on industrial outdoor storage as not being a preferred development type. I'm going to skip forward a couple slides just to kind of, you know, our task was to show you the market opportunities. So industrial outdoor storage, we believe, is a near-term opportunity. We do think that there is going to be interest for it. And also to just highlight that this is a land use plan. So whatever is decided in terms of these alternatives, these do not create entitlements. These do not create a right to build any one of these land uses that we're talking about. There's still a general plan amendment process, a zoning process, and a whole, framework of people and developers bringing a project to the town, getting the proper approvals before they can move forward. And just if I could point out too, these parcels, you know, we show them on the aggregate how much land, how many acres are available per land use, but you see how they're broken up. One, because of topography and in the different areas. When we consider industrial outdoor storage, one, yes, there's a market for it, and then two, there's just this conversation that we have about what could go where. And if you look at this kind of top area here, this is designated for an employment use. It's next to existing enterprise that is kind of an outdoor, industrial outdoor use. It's not needed for this purple area that we're outlining as your commercial corridor. You don't need the lot depths to come all the way back up here. So we've got kind of a stranded parcel up here that, perhaps could be marketed for a traditional industrial tenant, but, that's really what we're talking about is, we've got lots of areas, that are prime areas for industrial business parks, that can really yield, hundreds of thousands of square feet of industrial and employment type buildings. So these were really, we're talking about maybe give consideration to, although it's not your, preferred development type, it is revenue generating, and just consider it on a case by case basis and within the plan itself. So, that's really the synopsis I have for the market analysis. Again, really strong fit for small scale industrial, 5,000 to 15,000 square foot. A lot of local businesses could be interested in that. There's just a slew of different types of tenants. When we studied the market, it's small scale manufacturers, assemblers, small scale distribution. We've even, a lot of services, automotive services of various types. We've even seen photography studios, custom, gyms, so lots of different, personal services, all the way through in that category, that are looking for, 3 to 5,000 up to 15,000 square feet, maybe some warehouse space and maybe some enclosed outdoor yards for vehicles or equipment, things like that. Mid and shallow, again, 20,000 square feet, all the way up to maybe 100,000 square feet, also strong fit. And then retail. Retail is going to be basically additive. It's the lagging asset type that comes in. So maybe short term, there's highway-based commercial, maybe another fuel center, some pads for restaurants, drive-through, quick service restaurants, a bank, and things like that. And then as we add more residents, that creates more and more demand for local retail. Some of this area also could have a hotel site or multiple hotel sites. And then those hotel visitors also create more demand. So it just starts to accumulate over time. And so our recommendation is preserve 15 to 20 acres within the plan, for those retail opportunities that we think will materialize. I'll turn over the land use and the alternative concepts over to Jenny.
Thanks, Kenny. Again, my name is Jenny Watts. I'm a senior aviation planner with Kinley Horn. I am here kind of filling in for Chris Hacker, who couldn't be here tonight. But I have been a part of this project along with our team, so been working with Danny and the rest of our Kinley Horn team. So essentially, all of the information that Danny kind of just went over, the market analysis, really is kind of the outcome of what Kinley Horn's task was and our role in this. Our goal was to take the land parcels that were a part of this process and essentially kind of, determine which parts of those parcels are actually developable. So again, as Danny mentioned also, if you were here at the council meeting last month, I know that we kind of went into a lot of great detail on how we determined that. And we did a little bit of an overview as it pertains to the airport and some case studies. But again, this is kind of just a high level overview again tonight. So this first graphic here that you'll see on the screen, and then of course, if you were up there looking at the boards, this is essentially the first step in the process to help Danny determine the analysis that he did. We had to first tell him, what's available on the land and what can you develop on. So, internally at Kinley Horn, we did some analysis as far as topography, environmental restrictions, and then also, uses that were already there, and kind of subtracted that from the totals of these parcels and came up with a, total developable amount of acres. We called them pads, planned area kind of development. And then from there, we kind of took the task, of course, preserving the area for the airport first, and then kind of working out from there. And we came up with these, again, different land use designations. They do correlate pretty closely, I believe, to the town of Superior's general plan and the zoning codes that already exist. So I believe there's 5 of them, I think, or more. The commercial employment center, which is also kind of light industrial a little bit, the medium density residential, and then we have open space conservation and open space recreational. A lot of the topography ended up being kind of not developable in certain areas, and so that's where we kind of left that to the open space. That's kind of just the overview again of how we determined the land use within these parcels. And then moving on now to kind of our piece and our specialty as it pertains to the airport, I will want, like, before we get into the different alternatives, I will just preface that with, again, I think Danny mentioned this also. These are, land use plans, these concepts that you're seeing on these alternatives, they are for planning purposes only right now. Again, even from the airport perspective, there are still a lot of processes and stuff that would have to happen before any of these actually came into effect. And it's not to say that, much like an airport master plan, you can't make changes along the way. So just keep that in mind that, none of these alternatives are essentially set in stone, and, different elements. You'll hear me say the terms aeronautical and non-aeronautical, just to give you kind of a brief definition of those as it pertains to the property on the airport. So anything when we talk about aeronautical use, that is essentially defined by the FAA as any kind of use that is essentially that would be used for, actively using an airport runway or taxiway. So activities that support that, like flight training, hangars, fixed base operators, fuel sales, tenants that are actively engaging and using the aeronautical part of the airport itself. When we talk about non-aeronautical use property, which is allowed on airport property, it has to just be compatible with airport property. But again, this is for things that don't necessarily need direct access to an active runway or the taxiway, but could just potentially be located on an airport given the nature. So maybe a trade school or light industrial, even like avionics shops that don't necessarily need direct access. So I just keep those terms in mind as we're kind of going through. Okay, so just to kind of recap. So what we've done is the graphic after? It is, okay. So we'll do an overview of the alternative first, and then we'll show you the graphic. But essentially, so alternative 1 was kind of really close to preserving what the airport is today. We kept the runway orientation, that is the direction and heading that it's located in, and the length at its current length. The only modifications we kind of made is we modified one of the access roads to kind of reroute it outside of the runway protection zone. That is a designated safety area that is supposed to be protected for the takeoff and landing of aircraft. So we moved the access road from that. And then you'll see when we go to the graphic that we just kind of have kept the aeronautical uses on the north kind of side of the runway and to the south. And then what we did was is we took a small portion of that land and designated that for on the south side for non-aeronautical uses. I did forget to mention though, on all of these alternatives, the one thing that will be consistent with all of them is a reduction in the existing airport property boundary. So when we first started this analysis, I don't have the exact number off the top of my head, maybe Todd knows, but the airport property essentially, you'll see it on that first graphic there, was essentially encompassing all of parcel number 6.
265 acres.
265 acres. So a lot of land that doesn't necessarily need to be preserved entirely for the airport. So our strategy there was let's shrink the airport property boundary a little bit so that the town has an opportunity to preserve that land, as Danny spoke about, for higher and best use. uses for that land that's going to essentially generate revenue for the town. When you have property located in airport property, eventually, that revenue generated on the airport property needs to stay there. And so we just started with, let's preserve as much as we think we need for the existing use and for the future. So that's what we kind of did, and you'll see that on all three of the alternatives. So essentially in the first one also, we have reduced the existing property line to south of the US 60, and there was actually another reason for that too, kind of the RPZ that I mentioned earlier. Right now with the existing runway configuration, it's overlapping the US 60. But again, the first alternative, we kind of just kept it the way it was. So, but that's, again, you can see it if you walk up to the boards a little bit closer, but this was kind of what we determined. So you'll see there, the laser here. Yeah, so kind of what we talked about, the aeronautical uses are going to be, kept here as they are today, kind of on the north side, bordering the 60, but also a little bit preserved over here. And then this is where we kind of said, this could be some maybe non-aeronautical uses that would also contribute to the revenue of the airport eventually when there's something built there. But essentially kind of pretty much, what the airport looks like today, but just preparing it to shrink that property boundary just a little bit. With alternative 2, again, the same property boundary that we're proposing, so keeping it kind of south of the US 60 and then to the west of Apache Pier Road. But in this alternative, we decided to actually reduce the runway length. The reasoning for that had to do with the RPZ on that the northwest end? Northeast end of the runway. And again, that is a safety area that is standard on all public use airports. Essentially, the FAA does not like to have public facilities, including roads, running through that because it's supposed to be preserved for the safety of people and property on the ground. So this would kind of solve the issue of having that RPZ located within the US 60. So we reduced the runway just slightly, but the runway length reduction does not impact the types of aircraft that are be able to currently use the airport today. Even if in the future, at some point that this runway was paved, there would still be enough useful length for, smaller single-engine aircraft, which is currently what the master plan has projected for the critical aircraft. So not hindering the use of the airfields to the existing aircraft that use it today, essentially. Another thing that we did also was just same concept of keeping the aeronautical. Oops, here I will just switch to graphic. Same thing with the dividing kind of the aeronautical on both the north and south end. Kind of have this little area here that's just adjacent to the runway, so you can see the actual runway end kind of shifted here, and that's what brings this runway protection zone all the way within this new airport property boundary that we're proposing. Again, the new access road would also kind of remain outside of that. One concept that we wanted to show on here, again, all hypothetical, but I know that we're talking about some of future emerging technologies. Danny has a good pulse on what kinds of activities for, the surrounding land use. But when we talk about what's going to be kind of, what's going to be the next thing for the airport? What could be help drive some revenue generation for the airport? Now, I don't know if a lot of you, following a lot of emerging technologies in aviation these days, but there's a lot of talk about advanced air mobility and electric vertical takeoff, eVTOL aircraft. And so vertiports are essentially, they are a modified heliport. Essentially, these vertiports are being developed to accommodate these electric vertical takeoff aircraft. So we just are showing a concept there, again, not set in stone. All of the potential uses will be determined by actual demand, but it's just a concept that we wanted to show that we know that, the airport is in a good position to potentially have types of testing for unmanned aerial systems, UAS. along with potentially a use case for the, vertiports and eVTOL. So we just kind of showed it there as an option, just where it would kind of could possibly go in that aeronautical use land that we're showing on the airport. And then with alternative 3, it's very similar to alternative 2. Again, same airport reduction, or some airport property reduction. We also kept the concept of the vertiport on the aeronautical of the south end of the runway. And then the only difference between this alternative and number 2 is, and this is actually kind of based on, I think, the last presentation we gave, we provided an example of an airport in Southern California, Cable Airport. It's located in Inland Empire, I think, close to Riverside. They had a kind of similar layout with the orientation, and what they did with their land use. Todd and others in our group kind of liked the concept of having perhaps swapping the aeronautical land use to maybe the south end and having all of the aeronautical activity concentrated here, and then keeping, this portion of land for non-aeronautical uses, and, which would in turn, it's more attractive to those that might need access, to the freeway. It's just a different idea of, where you want to kind of concentrate your aeronautical activity versus the non-aeronautical. One thing I did forget to mention though, on both alternatives 2 and 3, when we shift the runway length and we bring in the RPZ within this new airport property boundary, this actually freed up some more land here that could also be developed, that is also kind of adjacent to the US 60. So alternative 1, not an option because we still have that RPZ kind of going through here. But when we move it, alternatives 2 and 3 do open, I think it was about, I don't know, Danny, do you remember the number? I think it was like 2 or 3 acres, additional acres of commercial activity. So again, kind of another bonus of alternatives 2 and 3, adding a little bit more developable land there. And again, kept the vertiport concept just as a potential activity for the future. And then I think, so essentially those are the 3 concepts. Did you want to go over the table? Okay. I'm going to turn it back over to Jenny.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
In alternative 3, where are the helipads? Do they go away or do I just can't see them?
Yes, so, right. I think it's also alternative 2. Well, because of the shift in the runway end, essentially that kind of, it shifts the RPZ here. In their current location, as they are today, they would end up kind of being located here within this runway protection zone. So we did kind of take them off, I believe, for both alternatives 2 and 3. Oh, they are.
Yeah, so in 2,
Yeah.
I do see where it shifted, and 3,
Oh,
I
that's
just
right.
didn't see it.
Oh, okay. I cannot see it from here, but I think they're right there. I think I'd have to look closer at the drawing, but yeah, we kind of tried to shift them.
Oh, I do see it now.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah. And so that activity, again, traditional heliport is going to be very similar to how these new vertiports are operating. You're still going to have, vertical liftoff and takeoff and approaching in the same similar manner as helicopters would. So we kind of grouped that together. But again, long-term concept, not happening anytime soon.
Yeah, I think that's a good point that Jenny raises. This is a long-term planning concept. So for all intents and purposes, that heliport will be in use for many, many years in its current location. Will have a lot of use. Assume that, the airport, until we are able to generate revenues that can actually make the improvements that are described here. We're just talking about longer term planning, but as Chris, I think last month pointed out, best practices is not mixing fixed wing and rotorcraft. And so best practices moving to the middle of the runway for helicopter takeoff and landing so that it doesn't interfere with any fixed wing aircraft. Our last slide here is just in table format. If you add up all the acreages and you group them by type, how this shakes out between each alternative. I think the main takeaway here is there is not a huge shift in the amount of acres that are available for each land use. We make sure to preserve that 15 to 20 acres. I think we have more than 20 acres of commercial land in there. We have enough employment land for nearly 1 million square feet of total development there. That it does not, also we have land available for aeronautical use type enterprises. The residential portion, which is located on that first map over by the school district property, stays the same throughout each alternative. So slight changes, and like Jenny mentioned, that first alternative, we have a commercial piece, sitting right here. It's pretty small, and it's we would probably determine that as kind of a stranded piece with not a lot of market opportunity. So those two next alternatives so it's a contiguous piece all the way with frontage on 60 there. And then, of course, with alternative 3, non-aeronautical, so this could be employment, it could be commercial, with more Highway 60 frontage, which would be very attractive for commercial and employment developers.
With one caveat, as long as the development is deemed compatible for, use on airports. So making sure the building heights wouldn't be a certain height and stuff like that. So
And
yes,
there will be
yes,
design.
but within reason for use on
And
airports.
As an example, wastewater treatment plants are not airport compatible. So there's a lot of existing conditions on our airport that are problematic to start with. Hence an airplane landing on US 60.
And the report will outline those development restrictions and standards. I think that's all we have. We go to, we're basically here, refining and evaluating these concepts, getting discussion from council, and hopefully a vote at the council meeting, so that once we have our preferred alternative, we will move forward with rough order of magnitude cost estimates of what it takes to get the infrastructure needed to make these sites development ready, and get you a draft and final report. And with that, we turn it up for discussion.
Council, any questions or comments? This is an action item during our regular meeting. So this is a good time to talk about all these things, and if there's any questions from the public, I think we can field some of those too. We're got less than 50 minutes. Mr. Cartier.
Todd, you had talked about the green areas are non-usable. Is that because of topography and drainage and such?
Yes, that's exactly why. If you look at the blue lines, those are Silver King Wash, No Name Wash. Those are the washes that flooded out the Arboretum in the last flood event.
Okay.
So they're very high drainage washes. There are some areas that may transition from green to usable. For instance, the stranded lot below the wastewater treatment plant, that large green area, there, if we can develop access to that, that might be buildable. But most likely for residential or for some sort of recreational use, because it's down in a kind of a recreational area. But what's going to happen now is once this concept is developed, then we will start actually building out these plans. We will need surveys. We'll need very detailed topography. We'll need to do geotech on these sites to make sure that the soils are compatible with development. It's a lot of steps that are going to have to be done here, and we have to do a new airport layout plan to lay out the new runway. We have used grant money for our airport. Not a lot. We use grant money. That means ADOT says anything we make on that airport has to be spent at the airport, which means all of these industrial parks and stuff wouldn't benefit anything but development of the airport. And maybe we'd get our runway paved, and that would be the only benefit from it. So we would need to make sure that the airport layout plan reflects a much more constrained area. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. Will you find, so once that starts, could you find that some of these areas are maybe more usable than you think they are?
Yes.
Okay.
And we did have a FEMA application in for a detailed LiDAR survey of the entire area to map all the drainages in detail and to give us some high definition topography. But FEMA has been we were positively reviewed. We were going to be funded, and then FEMA pulled back all its grants for a year, and then restarted the entire process with different guidelines. So we don't know where we stand on that, whether our grant's still in progression or not.
Mr. Guzman, you had a question?
Yeah, so I thought I heard it, but I want to make sure. If we shrink the length of the runway, we won't lose eligibility for what's currently been used on there. Right?
Yeah, no.
But yet it also opens up the road, clearance speed. Is that right?
Yeah, you pulling the RPZ below the US 60, that's just really best practices. You reduce the need to realign this access road as well. But yes, the reduced runway length is still compatible with all the current aircraft.
The biggest challenge with shortening the runway is we will have to spend several $1 million fixing the grades and the capping on the lower end of the runway. If you look at this, the upper 2/3 is capped and in fairly good condition. It's nice and smooth. The gliders can land on it. The lower third is very high slope and very rocky. It's just native soil. So we would have to bring in enough fill to raise that grade significantly and to smooth that entire runway out. So that would be a significant expense that we don't have today. But this is, again, a far future conceptual plan.
But in all three alternatives, you're going to need to do that or no?
We need to do it now, to be honest. And the runway is sad and embarrassing most of the time. But we do our best to grade it and make it look good and to get rid of those rocks. But without capping that lower third, it's going to continue to whenever it rains, it's going to boil up rocks.
Any other questions or comments from council?
Where would that alternative road go? Is there any proposal of that alternative road to come in?
Are you talking about alternative one or?
Yeah, or in alternative one, it shows, exiting the airport. And it's kind of looks like it kind of cuts into the existing road that goes to the sewer treatment.
Yeah, it's simply, I mean, obviously, you've got the existing runway, you're using it, and you've got an access road that is also being used, it's kind of just with grandfathered in, but just our airport consultants cringe every time that they open up this map, and so they are compelled to recommend that the road goes into compliance, so basically, it would be wrapping around where you see this RPZ and then coming out, further to the east.
Is that our property or is that a neighboring property that's not owned by the town?
I don't know the ownership of that.
So that where on alternative 2 and 3, that is land we own. Alternative 1, rerouting that road, we do not own it. So that's why if you need to reroute that road, alternative 2 and 3 are much more practical. The grading on the area where they've shown this road is very doable. We could build this fairly easily. We do have to remember this is a heavy hauling road. Haul packs run on it all the time. So you can't do weird grades and sharp turns and other things that would cause problems.
Well, that's what I was asking just about.
Yeah, the other one extends out past into the neighbor's property. So I don't know that under alternative 1 we could ever build that.
And selecting alternative 1 does not compel you to move forward on that road alignment. It's just a recommendation by the consultants that a road alignment outside of the runway protection zone is ideal.
Council, any further questions or comments? Anything from the public? Anything else from the public? Brian, did you have a hand up or you just holding?
No, I'm good. You guys are doing fantastic.
Just checking. Is Ioana still on the line? Does she have anything else to add to this particular presentation?
Yes, can you hear me, Mayor?
Go ahead, try again, Ioana.
Can you hear me, Mayor?
Yes.
Yes,
Mayor and Council, I just want to underscore what Todd just shared with you. And Todd has been very actively engaged in this entire project for the last 9.5 months. And that is that we still have a lot of work to do before we get the Superior Innovation Gateway District close to being able to attract a high-quality developer, high-quality companies, et cetera. There are multiple studies, plans, surveys, engineering, if the water infrastructure, it's just coming to the site, et cetera, et cetera. So as exciting as this is, and as critically important as this land is to the town's near, mid, and long-term future, we still have more steps to go through. And I just wanted to make sure that not only are the mayor and council members aware, as we all are, those of us who worked on this, but that our residents are aware that this is a critical first step that we have achieved. And now we have more to go to do, more work to do, but we will get there, and it will be spectacular for the town of Superior.
Council, any more questions? Anything for Ioana or anything? All right, hearing none, I will looking for a motion to adjourn the meeting at 6:52. There's a motion by Councilmember Navarrete, second by Councilmember Byrd. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We will resume our regular meeting at 7 p.m. And I'm not sure we'll make some decisions about this presentation. So take some time to look at the maps. And we're gonna move that up to the top so that way Danny and Jenny can get back. So. Be there?
Okay, where are we going?
Where are we going? To the airport. We're going to our airport.